scratched your truck in real life.
And I wanted to choke your ass out.
Should we tell him that story? That was horrible.
Let's tell him that story.
It was horrible.
The story of how we almost got divorced the first time.
I'm Emily Rape. I'm in Committed Car and Truck Club from Louisiana.
And I'm Chad Rape, also from Committed Car and Truck Club in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I grew up in Conroe, Texas. I was there till probably 99, and then my parents moved to Sulphur. And I've been here ever since. I left and went back to Houston for 2, maybe 3 years, but then met her because I was coming back to visit my friends, and after meeting her, I never went back to Houston again. Of course, we still go to Houston to go hang out with y'all.
This August will be 10 years married, 11 years together. Got married on our 1-year anniversary because he didn't want to remember 2 dates.
Before I was even old enough to drive, I knew that when I was old enough to drive, whatever I was driving was not going to be stock. I did not get this from my father. My father was never into vehicles of any sort. He did have 2 older Corvettes, I think a 76 and an 86, but never did anything with them. It was just something that he bought and drove around. So I kind of come into it all on my own. I just saw some magazines, you know, mini trucking, street trucks and trucking from way back in the day, and it never stopped from there. First vehicle that I ever owned just so happened to have been I think a 93 Chevy C-1500 OBS. It was a single cab. When my parents bought it for me, it was old school. It had some like 15 or 16 by 10 wheels on it and running boards, and it was cool, but it wasn't my thing. So it didn't take long before I lowered it and put some 20s on it. My first time lowering it, I had no idea what I was doing. I had a buddy of mine that agreed to help me. He got a flip kit so I guess somebody come into his work and had it taken off. So I got this flip kit from him. It was missing pieces. We didn't know at the time. So we cut the axle saddles off to try and flip them over to make it work, and didn't weld them back because we didn't know what we were doing. So I went to the house that night, and of course the rear end twisted on me, and my parents were so pissed. My dad had to go put the truck back to the way it was, and then that killed me lowering things for until he wasn't paying for vehicles anymore. So growing up and just checking out street trucks, trucking, and mini trucking, it was all of the vehicles that I saw in those magazines. I told myself, I will own one day. I will have something worthy of being put in a magazine. And then, you know, we started going to shows and started meeting different people, and it ultimately just led to me running into Patrick one weekend. And I knew Cody and Bobby for several years, had hung out with them at different places, and then there was just one show that they introduced me to Patrick, and after me and him got to talking, that was
all she wrote.
That was the outcome. That was just give it to Patrick and let him do what he does.
Our first custom car show together was Lakefront Tour. I think it was 2008. You brought Lolita, but it was orange and black and blue.
It was orange and black when I first bought it. That was my first bag truck. Very first one to ever be put on air, and never got rid of it. That's why I said earlier, it's always for sale but never on sale. Right. I go back and forth with, it's always been a love-hate relationship, and I know everybody can relate to that. Case in point, like I was telling y'all earlier, I just got it back from having all of this extra work done to it. I drove it maybe twice, yesterday being the second time, and hit something in the road and ripped off one of the rear brake lines. So I've spent 4 hours of my morning repairing a brake line just because I want to drive it later on today. So that's why, I guess that's where I go back and forth. When it's broken, it's for sale, but I'm not giving a discount for it being broken. But when it's not broken, I don't think I'd get rid of it. It's a 1967 C-10 short wheelbase with a small back glass. It is now 4-length with a custom back half, an LS and a 4L60E swap, Porterbuilt front suspension.
I've had it for a long time. It was an anniversary present, 2012. Were you working in New Mexico?
I was.
You were working in New Mexico, and he was just looking for older vehicles, and he found a C-10. It's been sitting in a yard. He went to ask Guy for it, and he didn't want to sell it, didn't want to sell it, didn't want to sell it. It's just been sitting there, since 70s?
The man was driving it, and I think it had an inspection sticker in it from '86. And he said sometime in that year, he walked outside and the battery was dead, it wouldn't crank, and he never touched it again.
Yeah, and he finally parted with it, and him and Bo took it to a auto parts store and then a hotel parking lot, got it running a little bit, and it sat for a while in Texas out in the elements, long time. I honestly thought it would be like my retirement vehicle because it would be lowered, and so I would be in a wheelchair, so I wouldn't have far to go. So yeah, pretty much that's what I thought it would be. He was like, well, Emily, we'll finish it whenever I'm finished with mine. Little did I know, he never finished. Never finished.
So we put out a rendering. We had a rendering done because she did go after some sponsors. So that was the big thing with, you can tell sponsors all day long of what you're gonna build, but nobody takes you seriously unless you have something to show them.
See it.
So knowing the way that Mad Concepts operates, they don't like building things based off of renderings. So we didn't have a rendering done to show what the vehicle is gonna be.
It's just to give an idea, just
rough
for them.
estimate of where it's headed.
Patrick painted Chad's truck, and I absolutely love all the graphics, everything he does. It's just so out there. At first, I wanted to be somewhat traditional with the C-10, and then slowly but surely, over time, a little graphic. Oh, heck with it. Let's just go radical. It's everything. So that's what he's gonna do. So the truck just been finished by Patrick. Everything.
Debut show.
Yeah,
Let's get that out there.
What was
the
it?
debut show.
What was
we
the
were
show?
at Cajun Nationals.
Cajun Nationals.
I don't remember anything else, but I
We drank
remember this
so
one.
much, so much.
I don't remember
so
the
much
first show that
alcohol
we
was
went
involved.
to together, but I know the one you scratched my truck
Yeah.
at.
Okay. So much alcohol was involved, and this guy parked a little too close to a curb.
It's my fault.
And I was schmammered, and I opened the door.
I laid the truck out. I thought I was doing good by parking at the end of the parking lot to where nobody could park on that side of me. At least I'm eliminating one person door dinging my shit. Little did I know, the door dinger was in the passenger seat. But I laid it out, and she opened the door right into the curb.
Open. It was a soft open. It was enough. But
So to this day, there is the tiniest little speck of paint missing.
And it's on the inside
edge,
too.
Just on the very edge of the door frame.
It's on the inside. But
at that point in time, it was like the whole door was missing paint, and I thought it was totaled. I was being a drama queen.
He was. Shit hit the fan. It was so bad. We drove to a Burger King, and we went inside. He was bitching me out the whole time in the Burger King dining area. Everybody was staring. I was trying not to cry. And then I asked him, I was
You're
like,
making me look like a monster.
you are a monster. I don't have to try. So I asked him, well, do you want a divorce? He said, no, that costs too much.
I have to repair the truck now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I felt like I could have got a divorce cheaper than a second paint job, we'd have been doing separate interviews.
He's joked that he's going to scratch mine. He said, just wait.
I'm scratching the shit out of it. Don't
Better
tell
not.
Patrick.
Don't tell Patrick.
Don't tell Patrick.